It's time to put your health in your own hands. Get ready to learn from today's top health and wellness innovators and thought leaders on Optimal Health Radio. Now, here's your host.
This information is not intended to provide diagnosis, treatment, or medical advice. Products, services, information, and other content provided in this broadcast, including information that may be provided in this broadcast directly or by linking to third-party websites, are provided for informational purposes only. Please consult with a physician or other healthcare professional regarding any medical or health-related diagnosis or treatment options. Hi, this is Tammy Patzer, and I'm really excited to introduce today's guest, Laura STREICHER. Laura is an healing facilitator, gifted communicator, and quietly focused leader. She is committed to harnessing and transmitting universal life force energy to transform human, animal, and plant life, as well as nutraceutical supplements, potentiating their highest and best expression for wellness and quality of life. Sophisticated, leading-edge, internationally approved scientific methods validate cognate results of her abilities. She is devoted to enhancing all quality of life factors on the level of body, mind, and spirit for the benefit of humanity. Welcome, Laura.
Hi, Tammy. It's wonderful to be here today, and I appreciate your introduction. I wanted to talk about depression today because we both have a great passion and caring for humans and animals, and according to the World Health Organization, depression is the world's leading cause of disability. And I just wanted to talk about different things regarding depression and the treatments and suggest alternatives or present alternatives to help reveal some aspects about depression that people don't always talk about, such as the possibility that it's an eclipse of the soul's true expression, and that many people who experience depression are really experiencing like clouds on a sunny day, or clouds obstructing the stars that guide them to their truth in their lives. And many people who find different ways to redirect their course find true happiness. And one of the ways that I'm advocating is the energy transmissions, which have been gifted to me through the Trivedi effect and Guruji Mahendra Trivedi's energy transmission, daily energy transmission programs, which, as I mentioned, I've been gifted with the ability to offer as well. Depression affects about 16.2 million adults in the United States and 3.1 million adolescents, giving a total of 19.3 million people in the United States. And as I said already, the World Health Organization says it's the world's leading disability, with that being around 300 million people. So it's a big, big problem in the world today, and it's something that I think many of us have friends and family who've experienced at least one episode of some kind of depression. Have you experienced something like that in your life?
I think so. I actually had a parathyroid tumor.
Uh-huh.
And during that time, I distinctly remember having long periods of time where I just felt kind of hopeless, very tired. I remember I would lie in bed and I would watch the sunset, and it would be a beautiful pink and orange and, just the most gorgeous sunset. And there I was lying in bed just feeling miserable. And what I found out later, that was actually part of the symptoms from a parathyroid tumor, because the calcium, and I had too much calcium in my blood, and it was affecting my electrical system in my body. And so I was feeling very drained. But I do know quite a few people who have experienced these episodes of just feeling sad, or that something's missing, or they feel disconnected, or out of sync. It seems to be fairly common. And so I think that the topic of depression is something that it's definitely right up there in the list of things that need to be discussed, as well as any things that are termed, mental illnesses or related to your mental state, because so many people will not talk about these things, and there's almost been a taboo which seems to be lifting about some of these darker parts of ourselves. So I think it's a great topic for you to expand on.
Yeah, I agree. Many people do have depression due to physiological imbalances. Sometimes it's the chicken and the egg. Sometimes people's spirits are occluded and the physiochemical changes occur because of that. And in your case, you had a tumor on your parathyroid, and that caused you to have the symptoms of depression too. So, but there are many types of and reasons for depression, and a lot of them are chicken and the egg. Some people get depressed because they take too much alcohol or too much food or whatever. But other times, a situation seems hopeless, and oftentimes it's related to a death in the family. Even animals. If you've seen animals, when their owner dies, they'll mope around or go to the gravesite, or even their companion pets pass. And so animals experience depression as well. And the types of depression like grief don't last as long. Sometimes they can be extended into a major depression, but other times they can pass. But there are a number of types of depression. There's major depression, which lasts for a longer period, and then the dysthymia, which is a less extreme symptoms, and then the chronic or persistent goes on and on and on. Of course, the bipolar has the mood swings from manic to depression, and many women have postpartum depression after having a child. And it's interesting, a lot of the states in the central Midwest have a higher percentage of that for some reason. And the seasonal depression and then psychotic depression. It did not mention the article. One of the articles I read, none of them actually mentioned depression from actual tumors, but that is significant, and I'm glad you brought it up, because it is something that they did mention depression from diseases, and like cancer, or many people in hospice have to struggle with depression.
I think sometimes depression, again, like you said, the chicken or the egg concept, because sometimes I think you can get depression or depressed from a physical thing going on in your body, or like you said, a major life event could happen. And of course, for example, in the example of postpartum depression, I imagine that that's a lot of hormone imbalances. And I think if you look at men and women over the course of their lifetime, they do have a lot of chemical changes that their bodies go through. And of course, add, some hormone issues, and then you add a life event to it, and you probably have a recipe for depression. And I think the seasonal disorder, I can also attest to that. I grew up in Oregon, and one of the things there is, it's beautiful there, green, beautiful flowers, but you do have months of what I would just call gray weather, or a constant drizzle of rain, and it never really gets, you never really get warm. Even, you get like cold to the bone. And so I think a lot of things happen. I actually was in Oregon in 2015 for a few months, and I've been living in Florida. And that was one of the reasons I moved to Florida, was for the sunshine. And I went to Oregon for 3 months in the fall. And how I handled that situation was I bought myself a special light, and then I set a heating pad, and I literally had this bright light on, so that in the afternoon, because it started to get dark around 4, and I would have my bright light on so that I'd have the equivalent of longer sunshine. That would be useful. And the thing that makes it easier to live with in Florida is, even when we get gray days, there's always that thing in the back of my head where I go, it's not going to last very long. So even though you kind of feel that darkness come over you, that it's only going to last, the most a couple days before the sun will come out and everything will, be what I consider warm enough and nice. But all of your examples are very interesting, because you think about bipolar, and I think sometimes people don't think about the depression part of that, and think about, if you go from this low to this high, the havoc that could do. So I imagine in the world that there are really pretty high costs involved in both dollars and in productivity. Do you have any information about that?
Yes. According to the Scientific American in 2015, depression in America costs society about $200 billion per year, and yet only 40% of that sum is associated with depression itself. This 60% was including indirect costs or costs from low productivity, people not going to work, or spending money on rehab from drug and alcohol rehab centers, or accidents from depression-related situations, or even hospitalization for depression, things like that. So, and I want to go back to what you were saying about hormonal changes, because that really reminded me of the high statistics for the adolescents at 3.1 million, age 12 to 17 in the United States, having at least one major depressive episode. And I think that is so significant, because that's, that with the postpartum depression and the hormonal changes with women, and women are 2 times as likely as men to have a depressive episode, which is probably related to some of the changes in life, and men more so in their middle ages. But what you said about the seasonal depression is significant also, because the fact that there is an end in sight, that spring will come and the sun will come out again, that's something that's missing in a lot of the other types of depression, because they don't have that hope, that knowledge, or there's often a feeling of being boxed in and hopelessness. And that's the kind of thing where I wanted to focus on maybe the lifestyle changes, things, it's the depression being sort of a signal of your soul or your spirit that a change needs to happen, or that some deeper connection to spirit needs to happen. And that is the case that where things like alternative healthcare, right now what would be more useful. Right now they have mostly counselors, licensed counselors, health practitioners combined with antidepressant medication. And the alternatives include electroconvulsive therapy and magnetic therapy, changes in transmagnetic stimulation is what it's called, yoga and meditation, acupuncture. And the thing that I have found has helped some of my clients is Trivedi, the Trivedi effect through the Trivedi, through energy transmissions, which I can give, and I've been receiving from Guruji Mahendra Trivedi through his programs. And these energy transmissions connect the recipient to their source, or to align them with their true nature. And in some cases, I've found that depressive experiences have sort of melted away. For example, when my father had a stroke, our family was very grief-stricken and depressed about it. My father particularly, was on antidepressants. And after receiving some energy transmissions from Guruji Mahendra Trivedi, that lifted and he stopped having to take them, which was really a nice shift for him and our family. It's like the sun came out. And then I was helping a woman in hospice who was really devastated about having to pass because she had a child, and she received energy transmissions for over a month, and she pretty much shined her way through the pain and process, and left a beautiful legacy of tapes and memorabilia and photographs for her child. So she took on a really positive path in her, what was her depression about dying. And another woman whose entire family was so distressed about the death of her brother, they had taken a year before they had done it, more than a year and a half before they could do anything with the executorship. And one energy transmission to this one lady, and she was able to start making some progress in a positive direction with it. So there are some cases which can be addressed with alternative therapies like the Trivedi effect. Well, there's really nothing like it, to be perfectly honest. It directly connects the person to their source, or aligns them with their true nature, breaks that sort of egg of hopelessness where you can't really see any way out. And I've seen that happen again and again with clients. And there are other testimonials on the Trivedi website which attest to that as well. But other people, I will acknowledge, do need things like you had to have surgery to resolve your situation, right? You have
to remove the tumor because the tumor, what it did do, it just kept growing. And by the time I had it removed, it was emitting 2,000 to 323 units of parathyroid hormone. Normal is about 40. So, wow. And it was the size of a really healthy grape, and they're normally the size of a piece of rice. A normal parathyroid is the size of a piece of grain of rice, and it was the size of a really healthy grape or a really big olive, and it was just really huge. And they told me it was about 10 years old. And the part about that was so interesting to me was as soon as the tumor was removed, I started to feel better, but my brain actually rebooted in terms of every night when I would go to sleep. It was as if all the information was downloading and then it would re-upload like in my dreams. I was aware of this happening. And it took about 3 weeks for this to like reboot. You know, every night my brain would download and then re-upload information. And then it was like it all went back into wherever it was supposed to go, because I had been experiencing not only depression, but memory loss and slowed speech. I mean, believe me, there's a lot of different things that happen to your body when you have too much calcium in your blood. Your vitamin D goes really low. You know, just have the brain fog, the memory loss, the depression, different things. And the Trivedi effect, I think what's interesting about that is as it, where it falls into the non-invasive types of treatment, or you can't really call it a treatment, but it's complementary to whatever else you're doing with trying to deal with this. And again, like in my case, when I was in it, I didn't know what that I had a parathyroid tumor until I figured it out, and I found out. But that feeling of, if you can imagine a pane of glass, a big picture window, and you're looking at everybody on the other side of the picture window, and they're all having this great time. They're at a party, and you're on the other side, and you've got your nose pressed up against the window, and you're looking and going, I want that. I want to be happy. I want to be living. And you can't find the door.
Wow.
You can't get through it. And again, I think for some people that would be what the Trivedi effect could do for them. And again, for me, I had a tumor, so I had a physical ailment that needed to be removed for me to get better. But like you were talking about your father after his stroke, and how the energy helped him to connect so that he could heal and cope with all of the things that I imagine, because again, a stroke, I believe, is related to the blood flow in your brain and your entire body. And then the woman who knew she was dying, and to feel that peace and that calmness. Is it in your experience that one of the ways that people know that they're connected to their higher power or to nature, to their true self, is a sense of calmness?
Absolutely, Tammy. And that sense of calmness is that quiet voice inside that's encouraging, that's the kind of knowingness. It's not false encouragement. It's just, yes, this is the right thing for me. And that's one of the major things I think that many people are missing, particularly adolescents, because they're still trying to find that in themselves. Some of them, not all of them, but it's a time of big change where they're identifying who they are and connecting with their true self. And like with your, that was a wonderful visual example with your post-surgery experience, because that is a great description of a reconnection. You had lost some connections on so many levels that you were just re-upping your connection through your dreams and your experiences. And that was really beautiful. And I also agree with what you said about it being a complementary type of care in most situations, because there, the number of cases in which there aren't other influences are smaller. There are brain chemistry, hormones, and genetics are all possibilities for playing roles, but low self-esteem or anxiety, anything where there's a level of discomfort with the self, that is where that connection is missing. That's where there's the lack of calmness, which was your original question. Past trauma of physical or sexual abuse, or even verbal abuse, even witnessing abuse has an effect on people like that. Chronic diseases, some medications even invoke depression. Family history or age, gender, and race. One of the highest percentages in adolescents are children who are two or more races. They're at like 10%, 11%, 10.5% of the adolescents with depression are two races or more. So, but the identity of a person is something that is developed over time for many people, and just in life, whether or not you're depressed, finding that connection to source is an important part of character building, personal development, alignment with your true purpose and your passion in finding happiness in every area of your life. And that is another aspect of the Trivedi energy transmissions, which causes me to be a strong advocate of them, whether or not you're depressed, because it helps guide you to greater and higher levels of functioning and self-expression.
Yeah, I think that you're absolutely right, because in all the interviews I've done with people related to life force energy transmissions or biofield energy or the Trivedi effect, I keep hearing the same thing about the calmness and about being connected, and how just that connection just helps people improve all areas of their life. And you have been gifted with the ability to help be a conduit for this energy also. So if somebody wants to talk to you or work with you, how do they go about contacting you?
Well, my website is laurastreicher.net. My phone number is 641-919-6536. And my email is laura@laurastreicher.net. And I just want to say that depression is a debilitating illness. And in many cases, it could be a spiritual illness affecting the physiochemistry of the body. And I'd like to express my gratitude to Guruji Mahendra Trivedi for his daily programs, which have given me this gift of being able to transmit life force energy to help others to find their spiritual direction or personal life direction, purpose, and passion for their inner fulfillment and happiness. And I'd like to be able to help anyone out there who is looking for that. And I want to express my gratitude to Tammy. Thank you for having me on your show today, or this interview today, and I'm grateful to be here.
Well, thank you so much, Laura. And everyone remember, it's laurastreicher.net, and I'll have that hot link in the show notes. But again, it's certainly time to think about depression and to talk about it in an open way, because there is help. There's medical help, there's non-medical help, there's a lot of help out there for it. And it's something that we need to take time to not only talk about, but to also, give people some alternatives to, different methods. And I'm sure Laura can expand on that. And definitely go check out Laura's website. It has all the science that Laura's been involved in with proving or validating not only her abilities, but it talks a lot about the research that's being done related to life force energy and biofield energy. So her website has a lot of really good positive information that you can take a look at and educate yourself about the science behind life force energy. So, Laura, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you. It was my pleasure to be with you today.
This is Tammy Patzer. Go make it a beautiful day.
You've been listening to today's top health and wellness innovators and thought leaders on Optimal Health Radio. To get more solid health and wellness information, visit optimalhealthradio.com.